Welcome, sovereign souls and friends of the light, and thank you for being here. This is your Monday reading, and if you've experienced a wound with your father, Spirit feels that you need to hear this because this is an important message. If your father was absent, emotionally unavailable, quite critical and unpredictable or controlling, or simply just neglectful and unable to give you what you needed, these cards may help you to understand something that has been traveling with you for a very long time. And this is why Spirit have given me this download to share with you all today. The Wheel of Fortune sits under this entire reading, and because it is followed immediately by the Four of Cups and the Three of Swords, I can't help feeling that many of you have been caught in an emotional loop for a very long time. The same longing, the same disappointment, the same fear of waiting for something that never quite arrived. The wheel is connected with Jupiter, the planet of growth, wisdom and expansion. But in this reading, I think it's showing up as something else as well. It's showing up as a cycle, a pattern that keeps repeating because the wound is still looking for resolution. But what I love about this wheel is that it reminds us that life doesn't stay in one place. You do not have to remain at the bottom of this wheel, waiting to go round the same loop forever. Wheels turn, seasons change, life moves. And what strikes me about this reading is that the wheel doesn't stop at disappointment. It doesn't stop at heartbreak. It keeps moving. It carries us forward into a new season and a new chapter. We understand and eventually awaken and eventually heal from whatever this wound is speaking itself to us. Now, as we move through the reading, we come to the Four of Cups, and when I look at this card, I see a child sitting beside an emotional river while remaining thirsty. Life is flowing all around them, yet their attention remains fixed on the one cup that never arrived. This card always makes me think about waiting in your emotions, stuck in your emotions, waiting to be noticed, waiting to be encouraged, waiting to hear the words that never came, to feel important to somebody whose attention mattered. The Four of Cups is often associated with moon energy and emotional needs, and in a father wound, it feels like the child who kept looking over their shoulder, hoping that one day their father would have finally turned around and see them properly. The shadow side of this card is disappointment and withdrawal, and sometimes people carry this wound and they stop asking for what they need because they've learned very early that asking didn't lead anywhere at all. Yet the gift of this card is awareness. It shows us exactly where the longing still lives and where the ache still sits beneath the surface. Following that is the Three of Swords, which takes us deeper into the story, into the wound itself. This is associated with Libra energy, and although Libra seeks harmony, here we find heartbreak instead. Now, this is a card that says this mattered. So many people carrying father wounds minimise what happened. They tell themselves they should be over it by now. They tell themselves it wasn't that bad. But the Three of Swords acknowledges the hurt, the pain, the grief, the loneliness, the rage. Because beneath many father wounds, there is an anger as well as a sadness. The anger that needs were ignored, anger that protection wasn't there, anger that a child had to carry things they were never meant to carry. But perhaps most importantly, this card shows us stories that grew out of the wound, the belief that you were never enough, the belief that you weren't lovable enough, the belief that you had to earn approval, earn affection, or earn your place in somebody's life. The wound wasn't only what happened, the wound was what you came to believe about yourself because of what happened. Now, we move next into the Queen of Cups energy, and this is where I feel the reading softens. The Queen of Cups is associated with the water signs Cancer, Scorpio and Pisces, and she feels deeply. She's intuitive, compassionate and emotionally aware, and she holds that in herself. And what strikes me is where she appears. She comes after the heartbreak, after the Three of Swords, after the disappointment. And what she tells me is that despite everything, something survived. Your heart survived. Your ability to love survived. Your compassion survived. Many people carrying father wounds become the listeners, the carers, and the people everyone turns to when they need support. They become the fluent in emotional landscapes because they learned very early how to read the room and understand what wasn't being said. And the shadow side of the Queen of Cups is losing yourself in other people's needs, constantly giving while forgetting yourself. This is a gift of emotional wisdom. And the card reminds me that the wound did not make you cold. It didn't make you incapable of love. If anything, it deepened your understanding of what love should actually have been. Now, following that, the next card to appear is Judgment. And this feels like the awakening point in the reading. Judgment is associated with Pluto, the planet of transformation, endings and rebirth. In this card, the trumpet sounds and the people rise. That's exactly what this feels like here. A wake-up call, a moment where there's a release happening. Things become clear. The shadow side of Judgment is shame, self-blame, and carrying the past as if it defines who you are. But the gift of Judgment in its upright place is that the moment someone begins to realise that another person's inability to love them properly was never proof they were unworthy of love. It was never your fault. It is the moment they stop looking at themselves through the eyes of the wound. Judgment asks you to see the truth of the situation, to recognise that what happened mattered, but it does not get to define the rest of your life. This is a point in the reading where the old story begins to loosen its grip. Judgment is asking you to come out of the box, start to awaken, start to see life through a different lens. Now, after that awakening, we move into the Heaven and Hell cards. Liazel, card 40. This card is often associated with comfort, liberation and emotional relief. And on the shadow side, it can speak of despair, emotional heaviness and feeling trapped inside old suffering. In this reading, it feels like the first deep breath after carrying something for years. It feels like the moment somebody finally allows themselves to stop fighting, not because they've given up, but because they realise they no longer need to carry the entire weight of this wound by themselves. There is something deeply comforting about this card. It feels as though the divine support has arrived exactly at the point where somebody has finally acknowledged the truth of what has happened, which completely relates to Judgment, the earlier card. This follows into Lialel, card 58. This card is associated with mental force, courage and clarity. The shadow side can be conflict, harsh thinking and mental battles. And in a father wound reading, this feels very important because wounds often survive through thoughts long after the original events have gone. The voice that says I'm not enough, the voice that says no one says, the voice that says I have to earn love. Now, this card feels like the card that challenges those beliefs. It says you are stronger, you have that mental strength. And the story that the wound created is not you. It says you are strong enough to question what you've been telling yourself for years. This isn't force in the sense of aggression, it's force in the sense of inner strength. The strength to think differently, to stop allowing old pain to write the script for your future. We arrive at Hab-Yuhaya, card 68. Hab-Yuhaya is known as the angel of healing, and I think that's a beautiful place for this reading to end. What's fascinating is that the shadow side of this card is famine, sickness and depletion. And when I read that in the context of the father wound, I don't just think about physical illness, I think about emotional famine, rather like in the Four of Cups. The emotions are there, but it never touches the person needing them. The emotional hunger, the feeling that something important was missing, the feeling of searching for nourishment in places that could never truly provide it. I think about the solitude, the loneliness and the exhaustion, the rage that has been carried quietly for years. But Hab-Yuhaya doesn't leave us there. The angelic side of this card is restoration, healing, renewal, life returning to places that have felt depleted, which is shown in the Wheel of Fortune. And this wound has been now seen. The truth has been acknowledged. The old story has been challenged. And now healing can begin. What was depleted can be replenished. What was carried alone can be released. And as I come back to the Wheel of Fortune underneath the entire reading, I keep hearing the same message. The wheel is turning, the cycle is changing. The story does not end at the Four of Cups. It does not end at the Three of Swords. It moves through the Queen of Cups, through judgment, through comfort, through mental strength, and finally into this card of healing. The solitude, the grief, the rage, the emotional famine, and the exhaustion are acknowledged by this reading, but they are not where the story ends. The wheel keeps moving, remember. It's not static. Life keeps moving, and perhaps that's the message Spirit most wants you to hear today. You are not destined to remain in the wound forever. The wheel is turning, and it's carrying you towards healing. If this reading resonated with you or helped you in any way, please put a star in the comments, a healing star. I'd love to know that you're here and that you found this helpful. Please like, subscribe, and stay connected to the Crown Code. And as always, don't forget to keep wearing your crowns.